In my personal experience, Gen AI enablement has been primarily targeting developers. So, are you saying Flip AI is building something similar?
The abundance of code generation tools and copilots out there is really just a function of what the general purpose models are good at today.
How do you think Gen AI is going to impact the job of DevOps and SREs?
We don't see it as an outright replacement. And our models are special.
Today, when we look at the public cloud providers, right, whether it is Microsoft or Amazon or Google, they launched their own copilots. Flip AI going to compete with them? Today's guest is Corey Harrison, co-founder and CEO of Flip AI. Tell us what you're doing there. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Encounter, where we talk to senior execs from the tech industry to get their unique perspectives and insights. Today's guest is Corey Harrison, co-founder and CEO of Flip AI, a very interesting startup that's bringing the power of LLMs to observability. Corey, it's great to have you on my show.
Thanks, Johnny. It's really nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So Corey, since you announced Flip AI recently and you went out of this stealth very recently, why don't you introduce Flip AI and tell us what you're doing there?
Yeah. So we are an observability intelligence platform. We have our own large language models that we've built, so we're not using OpenAI or anything else. This is our own homegrown domain-specific large language models that we've built over the past 18 months. And our models are special. They're the first of their kind. They're the first that are specifically trained for DevOps. They can correlate log, metric, and trace data across multiple observability data sources and generate incident root cause analyses in seconds. We're based in San Francisco Bay Area. We are working with several large enterprises, medium to large enterprises, I should say, in helping DevOps, SRE, and infra teams reduce medium time to resolve incidents in production.
You have built a homegrown model, a set of homegrown models to work with observability. So are they based on open models, or did you really build something from the ground up?
We really built something from the ground up over the past 18 months. We spent a ton of time trying to curate the right data, trying to use the right techniques, and really pushing the boundaries of the science. It's not an easy thing to do, but we're fortunate enough to have some of the best in the world at what they do join us here at Flip AI.
Awesome. So I'll come back to you more on Flip AI, to ask you more details and how this actually works. But before we get there, let me ask you, how do you think Gen AI is going to impact the job of DevOps and SREs?
Yeah, so I see Gen AI as augmenting the developers and SREs out there. We don't see it as an outright replacement. Most of our customers are, medium to large enterprises. These are hardworking folks that are trying to do the best they can with the tools they have. Unfortunately, today their environments are incredibly complex. Their customers are demanding even better experiences than they have today, and resources tend to be flat, or in some cases decreasing. So the challenge that they face is, how do we do more with less? And we believe that Gen AI, specifically our Gen AI here at Flip AI, is the key to unlocking that next level customer experience and helping them do more with less.
Awesome. So I completely agree that Gen AI is going to complement DevOps and SREs. Today, when we look at the public cloud providers, right, whether it is Microsoft or Amazon or Google, they launched their own copilots or AI assistants. For example, Duet AI for cloud professionals from GCP, Microsoft Copilot for Azure, and Amazon Q. Mm-hmm. So is Flip AI going to compete with them? Do you really kind of put Flip AI in the same bandwagon as these AI assistants?
Yeah, no, we don't. So we respect the Gen AI products that the hyperscalers are putting out in the world, but we view those more so as almost generic productivity enhancers. Those technologies are largely to help customers of public clouds to orchestrate their cloud services or simplify the management of those cloud services. What we have here is a very domain-specific set of models that are built specifically for DevOps. So we don't see ourselves as competing with them at all. We respect what they're doing, but we are an entirely different and specialized use case.
Right. So you said you are actually building a purpose-built model. So uh, did you really pre-train these models with a lot of open source software logs? And how did you actually collect the data and how did you build this data set?
Yeah, so that's as anyone knows, trying to find the right data is the hardest part about training. And fine tuning LLMs is not an easy task, right? Not for anyone. So we spent the last 18 months curating the right data. So some of that's in the public realm. So we're a startup, so we're going to be as scrappy as we can, right? With finite resources. So some of that's out in the world and out in the open source world. The other part of that is largely proprietary, right? So we have our own training pipelines that we built internally. We have our own training environment that we've built where we have LLMs that build sample applications that look like our customers and then inject errors into those applications that they built, and then we use that synthetic data to help fine tune the models locally. So it's been a I think we're fortunate enough to have some of the best in the world at what they're doing here. And I think a year ago, before like my mom knew what Chat GPT was and all that stuff, right? The question was, is this possible? And we started proving that out, and now it's deployed in production, helping large enterprises.
So let me drill down further.
Yeah.
So in a typical environment, observability is one of the core building blocks of an SRE's job, and they define their own alerts, they define their own golden signals, and they kind of keep an eye on what is going on, and they sign up with a lot of observability platforms like New Relic or Datadog or Dynatrace, and they define some alerts, and it's been pretty manual so far. So are you going to really put an LLM which can basically classify the errors and the severity level? And can it actually go ahead and raise a Jira ticket and even assign one of the errors to, let's say, an L1 engineer?
Yeah, so we view that more as a journey of trust, right? So I think what you're hinting at is the world of self healing or automation, right? Our models today are not capable of like writing assigning tickets to certain people yet. We haven't gotten that far in the stack, but that's certainly in our plans and how we view things. If I take a step back, the reality of most medium to large size companies is that these developers have multiple tools. Sometimes your data is in multiple commercial off-the-shelf tools. It can be in open source tooling. You may be leveraging some of the cloud native logging solutions out there. And then some stuff is not instrumented at all, right? Some stuff is like sitting in different object data stores. So our intent was to build intelligence that can meet enterprises exactly where they are, right? By connecting to these tools, coordinating and kind of correlating data across all these different tools, making sense of it the same way a developer would, and providing them with the root cause analysis and the entire path as to how the model got there, including the queries that the models run on its own, including the sample data and the model's observations at every single step. The challenge is like, can we give that to you in less than a minute, right? Or less than 90 seconds compared to hours that you would probably spend as a developer, even just trying to pull this data together. And the answer to that question with Flip AI now is yes.
Okay, that makes sense. So in my personal experience, the Gen AI experience or Gen AI enablement has been primarily targeting developers, right? Whether it is Amazon Code Whisperer or GitHub Copilot or Tab9 Replit, Duet AI for developers, all of them are targeting towards empowering developers and making them more productive. So, are you saying Flip AI is building something similar but for ops related community?
Yeah, we are. We really think that the abundance of code generation tools and copilots out there is really just a function of what the general purpose models are good at today, right? And as entrepreneurs, as scrappy and founders, as scrappy as we are, we're going to use something that's already out there, right? So a lot of folks are wrapping things around OpenAI, et cetera. Building a domain specific large language model is very difficult, right? And building it from the ground up is not easy. It requires deep domain expertise, both on the ML side and on the DevOps side, then also on the enterprise, right? In terms of what you're trying to launch there. So yeah, we think there's this abundance of, well, I'll say like code generation pilots, co-pilots out there. It's just a factor of that's what the general purpose models are good at, and entrepreneurs are going to build where they can. Our team has a different expertise, right? Our team, we're experts in ML, we're experts in DevOps, we're experts in large scale enterprise deployments, and most importantly, we're solving something that's near and dear to our hearts, right? So most of us have either debugged applications or run large scale applications on our own. We know what it's like when the pressure's on and you're not getting answers fast enough. You're trying the best that you can, and your customers are demanding. You're trying to do the best that you can. And the question has always been, can AI help me do this task? Up until now, the answer's largely been no, right? And that's the problem that we're trying to solve.
Interesting. So earlier you actually said that you're going to help customers implement this in current environment, right? You're going to meet where they are. So does it mean Flip AI can plug into existing observability platforms, like New Relic or Datadog, or do you actually go ahead and build your own observability platform powered by Gen AI? What's your approach?
Yeah, so our approach has been just to connect to what's there, right? So in some cases, that can be some of the incumbents that you mentioned. For us, the model doesn't really care. The models don't care where the data is, right? We just have to tell it. So whether your data is in observability tool A or B or C, or if it's in object data store, or if it's in something open source, doesn't matter. These are all just data sources to our models. And I think from a customer standpoint, right, there are a few things that we're seeing. So first, customers are spending a lot on these incumbent tools, right? And they're starting to question the value of those tools. And largely, they've gotten some data storage, right? So like they're basically paying a lot to paying a lot to store their data and their logs, metrics to trace data. We don't want to be yet another source of data storage cost for you, right? We see that as somewhat undifferentiated, right? Our belief is that the real value that we can bring with our LLMs is at that intelligence layer, right? So we're not out to be a full blown observability solution today, hosting logs and metrics and all that stuff. That's just not the best place for us to focus our value. We try to stay at that top layer and be the intelligence layer that can connect to any source, so any data modality, logs, metrics, traces, configuration files, code, anywhere, right? Any cloud, any platform, right? That's how you meet enterprises and medium to large enterprises exactly where they are and deliver the value that they've wanted for so long.
Got it. Got it. So observability is, more of a factor of cloud native. In fact, observability became more popular after cloud native took off. So tell us about how Flip AI integrates with Kubernetes and cloud native observability tools like Prometheus and Grafana, or whatever the customers are using.
Yeah, so you may hear me say this multiple times, but we truly believe in meeting customers exactly where they are, right? So we integrate to all those tools. These are just uh, data sources for us for our models. Our models don't care whether your metrics are in Prometheus or wherever, right? We'll meet you exactly where you are, and it's designed to be that way. Another thing I'll call out here is in terms of meeting customers where they are is our models can go they can go on premise as well, right? So they can go single cloud, multi-cloud, right? Again, we're trying to provide the most flexibility we can to get this as close to the user and help them with their pain as we possibly can.
Perfect. So to run an LLM, you definitely need high-end AI accelerators like GPUs. So if a customer prefers to run Flip AI on-prem and would want to host the LLM locally, what are the hardware prerequisites?
Yeah, so it depends on many factors, but I would just say you probably need I would say maybe 4 to 5 maybe GPUs, right? Those could be, they don't necessarily need to be A100s, right? Our models are only 34 billion parameters in size, and that's our latest model. It's a mixture of experts model. It's like we're not chasing a trillion parameter model, right? That's not our use case. And also for our customers and our environments, it's actually not very practical, right? It's one thing to see a tool as a developer and get really excited about the possibilities of using it and it helping you save time and give more value. I give you incredible value, and then you can't actually use it because it's too large, right? Or you don't have the GPU space in your environment. So we try our best to make our models as small as possible. So I would say that depending on your use case and depending on your environment, you can do it with a handful of GPUs.
I assume you also have a SaaS version where I can connect the Flip AI agent to my observability source and it does the job.
That's right. Yep. Yep. Again, this is all under the vein of meeting customers where they are. So we have deployments right now that are SaaS. We have deployments that are on premise. We can do both. And our team is. I used to work in the White House in the Department of Defense and Pentagon, so I'm very familiar with the world of on premise. Our team and my other colleagues have either led tier 5 nines of availability tier 1 services for AWS or uh, you know uh, been directors of product. So like this is our world. We understand it very well. But the key thing is, how do we make our technology and our platform and our product um, compact enough to meet compact enough and flexible enough to meet the customers exactly where they are.
Perfect. So to summarize, basically what you're saying is the customers who are very particular about confidentiality and data locality can deploy the LLM that you have built locally, or they can tap into the SaaS version, which is sitting in the cloud and talking to all the observability sources.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll add in the SaaS version is it's still single tenant, right? So even
Okay.
even in a SaaS deployment, you have complete control over your data flows, and the data and the models the models behave in a way such that the data stays within the boundaries that you define as an enterprise. So even in a SaaS mode, this company's model is this company's model. We deploy our models in single tenant mode today, right? Um, so we also think that's important. So no matter where you are, right, whether
Hmm.
it's on-prem, SaaS, it doesn't matter. But we want to make sure that to the extent that we can, we provide you with the same protections, the same governance that we believe is truly enterprise grade and key to unlocking value in some of the largest, most complicated places in the world.
Awesome. So Corey, LLMs are bound to hallucinate. It doesn't matter how capable, how large the number of parameters is, but LLMs will hallucinate. So how do you basically classify or make sense of highly proprietary logs or observability data coming from homegrown line of business application? Do you implement something like RAG to bring awareness and context into your model so that they can basically classify and get a good comprehension and understanding of customer data, customer logs?
Yeah, so a couple thoughts there. So you're right. I mean, it's the customers and enterprises can have things that we can never see or train on, right? Because we can't see it, right? So maybe they have a homegrown, maybe they forked an open source database and they've customized it internally and we can't see it, or maybe they have entire languages or things that our models just have never seen or that aren't available in the public realm for us to train on. And also they may be on technologies that we just haven't done yet, right? So I think one of our
Right.
things is we don't promise to be all things to all people. We can't be today, right? So like if you were to show up and say, "Hey Corey, I want you to debug my mainframe application," I probably would say, we don't really we don't do mainframes today, right? Right. So part of it's like actually scoping and making sure that we have the right things on the cart, if you will, and communicating that to our customers. The RAG side versus the kind of like the fine tuning side is interesting. We do have some RAG approaches in our models, but in this case, with our models are retrieving the context that they're retrieving is in fact logs, metrics, traces, and event data, right? I'll also take a step back here and talk about how Flip actually works, right? So our models are as close to zero shot or few shot as they can get, right? So what we've done is we've identified a set of different types of technologies and problems that we think kind of cover a majority of enterprises, right? So I'm sure most enterprises have issues with databases. If we're using Kubernetes, that can also be challenging as well. So we have a set list, and we'll continue to add over time. But we have a set list of things that we're going after today, and we pre-train our models, right? So we talk about this on our website, and we have a technical paper on this. But we try our best to pre-train our models such that they arrive to you. Well, I would say it's like 70 or maybe 80% working out of the box without even having seen your data. So that's to give you value on day one, but still that last 20 or 30%, you still need to be able to customize and get whether that's something internally or maybe that's a use case that we've never seen before, et cetera. So what we do is we allow our models to take inputs and feedback locally on our root cause analysis, on any stage of our root cause analysis to tell us whether they're actually correct or not. Or whether some parts are better than others. And the model takes that input locally. And again, I mentioned that this is a single tenant model. So your model gets better over time based on your feedback, right? So that's how we solve this.
Perfect. Perfect. So finally, as the whole operating model of Flip AI matures and it gets to a point where it is intelligent enough, will it ever replace support engineers and basically the support staff where it gets into autopilot mode and even starts remediating issues with software?
Yeah, so I do think we would get this. We will get to a stage where we're automatically remediating things. In fact, we're testing some of that in private beta today, right? So that's one thing. But our intent is not to necessarily replace support engineers. Right. I think my view is there's plenty of work to do. Right. There's plenty of work to do. There's plenty of complexity. I don't know anyone that's like, hey, my environment's getting less complex. Right. So there's plenty of work. There's plenty of complexity. Customer demands are going to continue to increase over time. Right. Like customers want better, less latency. You know, they don't want downtime. Right. Like the appetite for customers, both in the enterprise and the consumer side, right? Those end customers is going to increase in terms of their experience. So our whole notion is, can we help you do more with less, right? So can we help you maybe keep your headcount, or maybe can we augment you as a developer such that instead of covering, maybe you can cover 1, 2, 3, 4x of what you cover today. And maybe there's a part of that flip is automatically remediating for you. Maybe there's some more complex things that your organization chooses to have you still remediate, right? So that's the world we see. It's not the machines are taking our jobs sort of thing. It's like the machines are going to help you do more in your current job, and that's really been our view and our approach so far. I mean, because again, we're building this for our former selves, right? This is not something that's something that's new or foreign to us. Like we got the battle scars. I've run large scale systems and teams that have gone down, and I know what that's like, especially when you're managing a system that either customers, in the private sector, customers are relying on, or in the public sector, citizens are relying on, right? Those are all very important pieces of software, and that's what our world runs on today, right? And we've had to build and maintain that stuff ourselves. We know how hard that job is, and that's why we got into business of building these models, and that's why our product is the way that it is, and that's why we want to spread it to the world.
Perfect. So this is the perfect intersection of generative AI with ops and SRE world. So very interesting, very valuable conversation so far. So Cody, as we conclude this, how can DevOps or developers get started with Flip AI? Do you offer a freemium model, or is there like a free tier or something?
So we don't have a free tier just yet. We will within the next year or so. What I would say is you can go to flip.ai and sign up, and we'll reach out to you. We love to show you what we have. There are also some public materials out there as well. For those who want to go super deep on a Gen AI piece, we released our paper back in January, and it's received a paper describing our models and our mixture of experts approach. That's actually gotten really great reviews. But for everyone else, please reach out to us on flip.ai. We'd love to hear from you.
Excellent. So thanks so much for sharing valuable insights and giving us a peek into what you're building at Flip AI. I wish you all the success, and I can't wait to see this in action. So thanks again. And I wish to have you back in the future when you actually acquired some of the Fortune 100 customers, and we'll talk about customer case studies and evidences.
Oh yeah, we got those. We're already working on those, so we'll be ready for you. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Cody.
Thank you.